What's up, guys? Got my Dust Bowl shirt on. We got Gabe here. Gabe, tell us about your number.
Yeah, it's number 69. I've been lucky in multiple races having number 69. I don't think we get to self-select, so It's just luck of the draw.
Luck of the draw. Yeah. They heard about it. Yeah. And then the villain's over here covered up. Yeah, he don't.
where the enemy sleeps.
This is PG only.
Yeah, we're looking forward for tomorrow, and there will be a pod coming soon to discuss the race from the people who are actually in the race. Whereas you'll see on my camera tomorrow what it's like to be out of the race in the back. What's up, guys? Welcome to the Dust Bowl 100 video. This is a gravel race in Eminence, which is pretty close to Indianapolis, Indiana. It's pretty flat. It's pretty hot. It's pretty dry. It's farm country. A little bit of rolling terrain, but overall, it's not a particularly challenging terrain. It's usually hot. And it's usually dry, hence the Dust Bowl name. So I haven't raced gravel since March. In fact, I don't even think I've rode my gravel bike since March when I did the Dirty South. So got my gravel bike out the other day and kind of put some sealant in the tires and rolled it around and said, man, I hate this bike. But anyway, I was here with my friend Sean Hargis, the villain of Southern Illinois Cycling. He's done this ride a few times and was going to go again this year, so I rode with him. I haven't been particularly feeling great about cycling. I just haven't been riding that well, having some issues, and kind of lost my excitement for it some lately. So anyway, I lined up at the back. I'm in the very back. They open up playing the national anthem. A guy gave, he told us some things, rider meeting, all that stuff, and then said a prayer, did the national anthem, which is cool. I like that. And we're off. So it's starting this far back. I think there's about 400 riders in front of me. There's almost nobody behind me. There was a section behind me marked 6 p.m. cutoff. So if you thought you wouldn't be done till 6 p.m., I'm into like the 12 to 13 mile an hour range. And I was thinking I could ride that faster than this, but at the same time, I haven't been riding very fast at all. And last night, the pre-ride that we did, I averaged like 13 and I felt like crap. So, long story short, I just have some kind of problem, especially seems like the start of rides. It's like my heart doesn't want to kick in. That guy's rocking to the front. He's like, I'm getting up there. But, yeah, so, we've been waiting and waiting. Finally kind of maybe start to see people moving. Let's fast forward a little bit. So once the neutral start is finally cleared out a little bit, riders were taking off pretty fast, and I was kind of struggling. I was like, man, I could tell right from the beginning I didn't feel right. It was going to be hard for me to keep up. My heart rate was high, my chest was tight, my arms were already feeling numb, and like we're going like 13 miles an hour. So I thought I shouldn't even be here. This is not going to be a good day. I decided to goof around because all these people were standing here watching us, and I thought it was so funny watching us like we're like in the very, very back, we're like the barely gonna finish it crowd. So I raised my hands like I was crossing a great finish line here or something. But anyway, this early, these neutral starts, these are probably some of the most dangerous parts of the ride because everybody's full of adrenaline, everybody's clustered close together, and some people are gonna be like, oh, I gotta make my move, I gotta get to the front. And I had no interest in that. Like I was like really thinking I probably wouldn't finish this ride, and I was pretty sure I'd probably find a way to get off the course and get back. But it didn't turn out that way. So here we are early in the ride, and I was like going to jump on this guy and get a free ride, but I couldn't even really stay with him. And we're probably going like 14 or 15 miles an hour here, and I was like, I can't do it. It was so frustrating not to be able to ride at anything close to what, like my normal riding pace would be. It was just tough. I'm pretty much riding on full-on struggle mode. Like, I feel like I'm at max effort, going about 14, 15, 16 miles an hour, and these guys are just kind of cruising by me, pointing, looking around. Very, very frustrating, very annoying. I'm not gaining any ground. I'm just losing ground. And I was like, this is going to be a short ride. Okay, enough of me whining. So you go over this cool bridge, you get into the gravel in like, I don't know, probably about 2 miles. And it's really great gravel. It's smooth. It's pretty easy to ride. It's not real thick. And most of the gravel, pretty much all the gravel on this route was like this. It was great riding gravel. And really probably doesn't need big, fat, hardcore gravel bikes. There wasn't a lot of ruts or washboards or any of that kind of stuff. It was pretty smooth. Probably would have been just fine to ride this on my road bike, to be honest with you, for most of the route, but it would have probably been tedious after a while on a road bike. So eventually, that is the 80 milers. They started like 10, 30 minutes, I don't know, however long after us. They come by, the race group at the front of the 80 milers came by just like a rocket, and I latched onto the back of them, and I was like, okay, I'm just gonna drill it and see how this feels, get my adrenaline up, maybe that'll help. So I latch on to the back of this group here. I try to, and these guys are drilling it. So if you're in a gravel race and you're actually racing, it's pretty intense, and the gravel takes on a new dimension because you have to, like, look at this dude. Oh man. It wasn't faster. I think he thought it was faster, but it actually slowed him down. He lost a lot of momentum going through that grass, and I just took a normal line and passed him. That was kind of a lame, not really necessary move there. But yeah, I'm hooking back up with this guy's. But like, I was looking at my heart rate, and it was like 172, and I was hurting pretty bad already, and I'm like, Matt, bad idea here. But it was fun to hook up to the back of an actual like hardcore race pace group for a while and try to ride with them. So one of the coolest parts about this ride, besides all the freebies, which I'll get to in a minute, is the fact that like I have never seen the community come out and support a ride in a way that the community comes out and supports this ride. There were so many like houses that they were just like having Dust Bowl parties in their front yard, and they'd be hanging out, like handing out water bottles and just like playing cornhole and watching everybody go by, and they were so excited to see us go by. Even me way back there in the back, I'd get tons of applause from these people. So that was so cool, this community support. Well, eventually, after my little attempt to pretend to be a racer, I blew up a little bit, kind of relaxed, and this is Christopher Bates. He's an Illinois guy, northern, kind of a central Illinois guy, north from me, and he's been riding gravel for years and years and years, and he's come down and rode some southern gravel. He rides Dirty South, and so he's a very, very steady rider. Like, he's not riding at like hardcore race paces, but unlike me, who's surgy and I like to blow myself up, it seems like Chris just likes to put on like a very like super smooth pace and just finish a ride comfortably without without maybe destroying himself the way I do. But anyway, I got in behind him and drafted him. He was super friendly, and he was like, "Get on, Matt, I'll help you out." So he's pulling me around about 15, 14, 16, whatever. And this was fantastic, man. I just like sat back here and just like, there's a couple guys behind me, and I just sat here and just like, I could feel myself sort of recovering. My heart rate dropped down from like the 160s to the 130s, and it was just like I was just getting more and more and more like better the longer I sat behind him. So eventually this group from the 80 milers passed us, and these are some folks I know. We actually had dinner with them the night before, Kevin and Misty, and some other riders there with them. So they were running a pace that hopefully, trying to help Misty do as well as she could. And they were running a really nice, like, fast pace. You can see they just drifted right past us. And I started thinking about, well, could I actually keep up with them? I think I could right now. I'm feeling like this is really, really low effort, and I'm starting to feel so much better. So eventually it takes me a little while to decide, which was stupid because they're just moving further and further up the road. So eventually Chris pulled me up along beside this group coming up. Oh man, I grabbed that water ball from that guy. That was really exciting. I remember that because I was like, oh, this is cool. And it was easy to do. I thought it might be kind of hard, and pretty easy to drop. But I got the water ball from this guy. We kind of rocked down a little hill here. And there's a group coming up here, and one of the guys has a Rodeo Labs bike, which I've heard of them. They kind of got famous for riding Walmart bikes. Like they bought 3 Walmart bikes, and then they rode them in unbound gravel. And they painted it up, made them look really, really, really cool, but they were still just like Walmart bikes. And I knew I was starting to actually get better because I was like no longer just like in this like survival mode where it was like my all I could think about was how much my chest hurt and how much I wanted to quit. But now I was actually starting to have fun. My chest was no longer hurting, and I was looking around thinking, man, this is pretty awesome. I love this scenery. I love this, riding a bike's great. This is so much fun, and I'm just, it was starting to feel almost like too easy, riding at this pace. So that's definitely a sign that whatever was wrong with me early in the ride is starting to get better, and we're catching up to these guys. And another thing is, if I'm in a good mood, I'm feeling good, I start talking. I'll talk a lot sometimes, maybe too much. Oh man, that bike. Look at that thing. That's like custom. Custom. I've heard of those guys.
Out in Denver.
Yeah.
Great people.
I saw their little Walmart bike thing. That was pretty clever marketing. So after that, it was like all of a sudden I was unleashed. I could ride pretty much about as hard as I normally could or wanted to. And I could see Misty and Kevin's group way up ahead on the road, and I started thinking, you know what, I could probably catch those guys if I put my mind to it. And so get to this road, and I put my head down, got low, and cranked away, and eventually I was caught up with them. And in the draft, we covered a lot of miles really fast and easy. It was really nice to just sit behind a group of riders moving pretty fast. I mean, Chris had been awesome to ride behind. This was about a couple miles, and it was just a little bit faster, but the draft was excellent. The pacing was excellent. It was just like really, really, really smooth and easy to follow. And I would have kind of enjoyed following them all day, but they really didn't stop. They kind of stopped at the rest stop coming up, but they didn't. And the rest stop coming up was like pretty key for. So my nutrition plan for this ride, hydration and nutrition, was pretty simple. Just whatever they have, I'm going to eat it and drink it. I didn't bring anything. Like, I had 2 bottles of Gatorade when I arrived at the race for the pre-ride. I didn't bring any food. I didn't bring, I had a bag of Walmart Mountain Trail Mix to eat in the car a little bit, but I didn't bring any riding food. I was going to go buy it, but when I looked at the ride, I mean, most gravel races don't do this, but they had great stops. Like, you were on a really, really nice bike tour. They had, like, they're going to have goo, they were going to have Tailwind sports drink, advertised several other foods that they would have, and it was great. The stops on this ride were absolutely out of this world. They were like, the people were so friendly. They were like trying to fill my water bottles for me, and they were like, we'll get you, they're helping you out. I mean, they're trying to get you out of there as fast as possible. And also too, they were keeping, they were clean and we weren't, so they were keeping everything. That helps keep everything clean. They had time to wash their hands and stuff, where we kind of were in there getting in and out of the stops as fast as we could. So I mean, if you wanted to just do a bike tour and you don't really care about the race, because a lot of the racers, I don't think a lot of them were probably, very few of them were probably stopping much at these stops. They were probably just whipping right through, because they had plenty of stops. I think they had 4 or 5 official stops and a couple unofficial stops throughout this. So lots and lots of places to get snacks and drinks and food and stuff. So let's talk about the terrain. That was a covered bridge. I didn't get my camera on time to catch the earlier part, but it was a pretty wicked downhill into a covered bridge. I mean, it wasn't anything that sketchy, but I could definitely see it if you were like not on top of things or trying to. I overcooked it, actually. There was a sharp left turn and I was going a little too fast, and I probably would have been okay, but I didn't want to take any risks. And so yeah, terrain wise though, like dusty gravel roads, 60% gravel, 40% pavement. There was probably about 4 or 5 miles, maybe about 4 miles of bike trail in there, like a limestone bike trail that was great, a little bit of recovery, and also it's shady, so that was a really nice section. You might see later in the video. But yeah, the terrain, I mean, there's 3,000 feet of climbing in 100 miles, so it's pretty flat, but it wasn't like boring flat, like total boring flat where you could just see for miles. There's so many turns. This is a super turny race, super turny route. The gravel roads are generally kind of short, and so a lot of times they're routing us on these little like connector. The gravel road connects from one road to another, so we're sort of riding around connecting up gravel roads. And before I knew it, looking around, I was just totally covered with this like white fine dust, from all the gravel that we'd been riding. This was a group that I hooked up with, and with the number of riders that were on the road, the 80-mile course shared a lot of the 100-mile course. So there was lots of riders. Depending on the speed you wanted to ride, and if you're feeling good, you could probably ride with so many different groups here. I had no trouble. Hargis said that he kind of surfed groups for most of the first, like a lot of the race. Thank you. Try to look good. This little dirt trail was probably one of the most, I don't know, like, I wouldn't even call it sketchy or even particularly interesting, but it was something different. If it was muddy, this would have been kind of slick and a little bit rough. But I mean, it was just really not rutted up. I mean, I ride forest roads in the Shawnee that are like V-shaped, and they're really, really hard to ride. This was like super casual for me, and I was finding it was mostly downhill, so it was pretty exciting as far as like you're shooting through this forest pretty fast. I could see really clearly that there was no rocks, there was no big roots, there was no reason to really slow down. I mean, I would have definitely shot through this at the same speed on my road bike. I think it wouldn't have been that hard on a road bike. So course markings, that's another thing I wanted to talk about. The course was marked really, really, really well. There was signs everywhere. There was arrows occasionally painted on the road. And, they warned you to make sure you had your Garmin route loaded up and use it. I had loaded the Garmin route and I'd started it, but I didn't do something right. I think I did navigate to start or something, and then it didn't keep the route open for me. So I made one mistake where there was no markings on the road. I had been riding just fine, following signs. And there had been several places where you just stay on the road you're on, and there was nobody in front of me, so I followed the road to the left, the paved road we were on, and there was a gravel road that kind of turned to the right, almost just a little bit to the right, but almost straight, and I think that's why they didn't mark it. And I went by it, and I was pretty sure I saw tire marks, and then somebody behind me yelled, "You missed a turn." So, I mean, that was, no big deal at all, but really, really well marked route, easy to follow. The Garmin route was fine, and so that was good. So the ride ended with a really cool kind of like cyclocross section where you come through and you go around some dirt road, like just some cool stuff around some buildings and some bike paths, and it's not very long, but you go around a baseball field, and it's very much like a cyclocross course, and a pretty exciting way to finish the race. Cross a couple of bridges, and I thought I hit record on the camera, but I didn't. So this is the last clip, finishing up the race. We're about 2 or 3 miles. There had been a guy who had sort of been, I don't want to accuse him of doing anything like improper, but he had been like hanging on me a long time, drafting off me, and he kind of like, I don't know if he was like playing tactics or whatever, but like whenever he would pass me, it was always like he made an effort to kind of up the pace and drop me. And so I don't know. I mean, it might have just been the fact that I was going too slow and he wanted to go faster. It was no big deal, but every time he passed me, I was like, there he goes. He shot off. So me and this guy had been kind of playing cat and mouse and back and forth in these last like 5 or 10 miles. I dropped I was way ahead of him, and then I dropped a water bottle and I stopped to pick it up, and then there was a little like bonus water stop at near the end, and I didn't need water, but I was like, well, why not? I'll stop and get some water. He passed me there, and then I caught back up with him. And I can't remember at this point if I'm in front of him or behind him, but eventually I did pass him and get ahead of him. So about out of footage, so just finishing thoughts for the Dust Bowl 100. It was a super great ride, like very, very well run. It was a good course. I wouldn't call it like the most interesting course in the world, but as far as a gravel race goes, if I was a racer, like if I was fit and a racer, I think it would be a tremendously exciting course with all the turns. Definitely keep you on your toes. I don't think you'd go to sleep. 100 miles to me is a big effort on a gravel bike because, you know, I'm fat and out of shape. But I think that's a pretty good distance for a race. I think 200 miles is stupid, but I think 100 miles is enough, you know, of a challenge to, you know, test you and, you know, kind of the best will come out in 100 miles. So good race, great people. Would love to do it again. Don't know for sure if I will, just because it's you know, it's a lot to go. Cramps, this guy was cramping, felt sorry for him. So close to the end, he was struggling. He was like really in pain there. A lot of people cramp at the end of this, and I don't know if it's because of the heat or the course or just the intensity of it and the fact that they're racing. Who knows? But anyway, luckily I never cramped. I felt pretty good. I had one little issue with my stomach for a while. I had to quit drinking so much Tailwind Sport that was free and eating all the goos that were free. I put too much sugar in me, and I had to switch to just water for a while, and that cleaned out my stomach. And I started feeling a lot better once I just started drinking. I drank about 3 bottles of water, and that helped out a lot. Hargis was telling me, it's like, you can't just drink sugar drinks and eat sugar. You got to drink regular water too. I'm like, yeah, I guess that does make sense. So anyway, I'd like to come back maybe next year and approach this a little bit more like a race. Maybe not plan on stopping as much. I didn't need to stop nearly as much. I was carrying a lot of, like, I carried plenty of water with me. I usually only filled 1.5 water bottles at every stop. So, but anyway, also $100. Great price for this race, I think, for what they offer. Great meal at the end, shaved ice. I forgot about all the cool stuff at the end. They got a live band. They gave away a bunch of prizes. Great party atmosphere at the end, and plenty of people hanging around. You can get your bike washed. You can get a shower. So yeah, definitely would recommend this ride. I think, you know, just talking about it right now, I think maybe I will go back. Maybe, hopefully. Right now I'm in a lot of pain and tired and sore, but maybe next year I'll be ready for it. So anyway, I will let this video play to the end. And thanks for watching. Dust Bowl people, great job. Thanks for holding such an awesome event. See you later.